They refuse to give up. Mass protests against the government in Serbia, mostly by young people. They've lasted almost a year now, even though the authorities are not afraid to use force. Everything was peaceful until a police officer grabbed a metal baton and hit my friend and hit me on the head. The protests are now spreading to rural areas as well.
The students have opened our eyes. They're giving us hope that things will get better.
They want a future without cronyism and corruption and are taking a big risk to achieve it. What gives them hope? Jelena Popadic is one of the students fighting to change Serbia. A year ago, her focus was solely on her medical studies. Today, she's interested in politics and the future of her country. Along with others, she started a movement here in Novi Sad that has now spread across the entire country. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. People had basically gotten used to being robbed. Corruption has now reached levels that are killing people. It was a deadly accident that became the symbol of state failure. On November 1st, 2024, the collapse of a newly but shoddily renovated canopy cost 16 people their lives. Politicians tried to cover up the accident with the help of the security apparatus, the courts and the press, which are all under their control. Like many others, Jelena chose to condemn such everyday corruption. She told us, for example, that the owners of Alta Bank cultivate a special relationship with the government. Although it's a private institution, everyone is forced to use Alta Bank's services and pay its fees. When you go to the government offices for documents, all you find are its ATMs. Since June of this year, Serbian citizens must use Alta Bank to pay their electricity bills. If you are connected, you can make a lot of money in Serbia. Earning a lot of money is neither her goal nor that of most of her Gen Z peers. She wants to help others, later as a doctor, but for now by taking to the streets. The 25-year-old and her friends are providing medical care to those injured by the police while attending the protests. They meet regularly right in front of the university. Recently, the police stormed the student-occupied medical school. Jelena says a uniformed officer knocked her down with a metal baton. This cell phone video shows the chaos. Some see them as naive, others as courageous, but they are confident that this time the demonstrations will succeed. The police came from Zalazar Street. Behind us was the Danube, in front of us was the fence. There was no escape.
All you could do was swim.
You were lucky, you weren't beaten or arrested.
At first, I only had one bottle of saline solution for tear gas. Then I went back and got more.
Pumpaj, apply pressure. That's the motto of the Gen Z protests in Serbia. Tennis star Novak Djokovic supports the students. This gives them hope they will prevail against the regime. Surveys show that most people support the students. The protesters have been affectionately dubbed the children. Our professors sent us lunch. We're getting donations, soup, bread, non-perishable food, loudspeakers for the protests. Here are some first aid supplies. After the death of the 16 civilians, students occupied university buildings in protest all over Serbia. Since then, police officers have been patrolling the campus. In front of the lecture halls, a discussion about Serbia's future.
We're disappointed by the reactions from Europe. Now they're finally applying some pressure, but that's not enough. If Serbia is to be part of Europe, as it should be, then such an authoritarian regime must not be allowed to establish itself in Europe.
A regime with blood on its hands. This symbol can be found everywhere on campus. Corruption kills. Even if the students win the power struggle with the regime, the country's economic situation will remain difficult for the foreseeable future. I don't think we can achieve everything the Serbian people hope we can. They idealize us, just as they once idealized Vucic, Milosevic, Tito and all the others. Aleksandar Vucic was once seen as a hero. Now he's hated. For decades, he has been one of Serbia's most influential politicians. He's been president since 2017. All over the country, his posters sent the message, "We will not surrender Serbia." In fact, the security forces, courts and other state institutions, including the media, are all under his control. Under Vucic, Serbia's foreign debt doubled to 50 billion euros. This is a heavy burden for a small agricultural country. He rejects the protesters' demand for new elections. Having served as minister under war criminal Milosevic in the 1990s, Vucic knows how to crush resistance. He organizes military parades in Belgrade and brings his supporters from all over the country to the capital. Here he has them march in circles to make it appear like there are more of them. Because there are critics of his rule even within law enforcement, Vucic has created new special police units that monitor each other and that he can deploy against the protests. For over 30 years, Bogoljub Živković served as a police officer, most recently as a general. He's appalled by the police's brutality.
If a citizen or student stumbles, falls or is overpowered, 10 or 20 police officers beat him mercilessly while he lies helpless on the ground.
His son Petar, a law student, decided to join the protests. When President Vucic found out about this, he forced the general into retirement. Petar was beaten by the police, but he remains defiant.
What has changed is that the students are not afraid. And this has spread to the people.
The students are inspiring the whole country. In Belgrade, workers are following their example, as are the people in the countryside. Like the students, they're creating grassroots organizations without official leaders. This makes it more difficult for the regime to act against them. We're in the Vladimirci region, 2 hours' drive east of the capital. Dragan Radivojevic, one of the participants, is upset about crumbling infrastructure. 3 years ago, President Vucic promised investments for the village of Provo.
The toilets are terrible. The children play with mice. President Vucic promised to change that. He says that every time before elections, because he wants to stay in power.
A debate in the village square when Dragan meets a Vucic supporter.
Isn't it true that President Vucic promised during his election campaign that he would build a new school?
Why didn't he do it?
Good question. Because the government rules with lies and false promises.
We need the principal's permission to film on school grounds. Dragan gives her a call.
Slušaj, Dragane, ja ne mogu da ti tvrdim. Ja nisam neko ko raspisuje javnu nabavku, to je...
She declines our request. Unlike in the past, Vucic officials are afraid they'll be held accountable. There are abandoned farms in almost every Serbian village. Their owners left for the west.
This government has no sympathy for ordinary people. Year after year, more and more people are leaving our villages.
In the village center, we find outhouses as public toilets, electricity transformers exposed to wind and rain, and locked garbage containers. Residents dared to request additional dumpsters. Local politicians took this as criticism and locked the containers that were already there. Dragan must get back to work. He grows peppers, tomatoes and beans.
Those who are close to the government receive state aid. Everyone else is left to fend for themselves. They're second-class citizens.
Apparently, the municipality makes no secret of the fact that those loyal to the government receive money. Take, for example, the local administration's budget.
In Vladimirci, people make their living from agriculture. The paradox is that the state budget for tourism in this town is 6 times larger than that for agriculture. That makes no sense at all, because there is no tourism here.
For the first time, the village has hope that the protests will really affect change. Dragan hopes his 3 children will want to stay in Serbia and not feel forced to move away.
The students have opened our eyes. They are giving us hope that things will get better. It has been a long time since we knew who was even in the opposition. Our government has bought everything that could be bought, including the opposition.
Meanwhile, Jelena Popadic joins thousands of other students in Novi Sad in another march from the university campus to the main train station, the site of the tragedy. Over the past 35 years, there have been many demonstrations for democracy. What's different this time?
Honor their memory.
It's the people who make the difference. They understand it's now or never. We won't give up. The people have nothing to lose. Life as it is now makes no sense. This is our last chance. Serbia must seize this opportunity if it doesn't want to gamble away its future. The students have proven that courage can be contagious.